What's up, everyone? Welcome to the Athletics Collective. Today I'm here with Coach Wood, head coach of the cross-country team. So I might need just a little briefing. What exactly is cross-country? I'm not very familiar with it.
Okay, so you probably saw us over the summer. We were out there running our butts off over and over. But cross-country, in a nutshell, is 5 to 7 athletes coming together in one race for 3 miles. It's 5,000 meters. We train diligently to be able to race that 5,000 meters. And, for 15 to 30 some odd minutes, it's one of the toughest bits of time you're going to be working your tail off to do that. So, that's cross country. And, those 5 athletes, they compete against the rest of the team to see where team scores lay based off of the lowest number of finishes coming in. So, if our team has 5 athletes in at first, second, third, fourth, fifth, that's a 20-point score against other teams that are going to be,
of course,
a little higher.
Yeah, and so tell me, you have varsity and JV, right? No C team, varsity,
no C team,
JV, right?
Yeah. So ultimately, our season breaks down with some really early season meets that allow us to run everybody as a collective. There's no varsity or JV delineation until later in the season, but our top 7 athletes get to represent us at the district meet and then on to the state meet should they qualify.
And then it kind of gets into the serious stuff where you're kind of narrowing it down to those that have really had the really good season, right? And just the ones who have had that good time.
Right, and that's kind of the benefit to both of my sports, track and cross country, is numbers don't lie. Who's ever got the fastest times are going to be the ones that represent us going forward.
Of course. And I know that this year you had, and even the years past, I know you had the Denny's, and just those siblings were just insane track athletes. I know, how has that affected the program now that they've left? I know it's kind of left a little bit of a hole that needed to be filled. But yeah.
It did, and those 2 were dynamically great athletes, and they were just not only that, great people and great leaders for us. So they did bring some people that wanted to participate just off the backs of what successes they had. So we did get some athletes that came in hoping to try to see what Mariah and what Abram were able to do, and yeah, like you said, we were missing some of that top-level talent. Thankfully, this year we had a swing athlete, Zach Beagle, who came out and really put a lot of time and effort into cross-country, and he had the raw talent together to push him onto that next level.
Yeah, of course. And Beagle, more on his, Zachariah Beagle, more on him, great season for him. I know we went to state. Walk us through a little bit of that experience for you guys.
Yeah, it was a really weird season for Zach. Early on in the season, he took a golf ball to the back of the head during some weird PE thing. Not really sure how that happened.
I didn't either.
It seems like your co-host here might have some insights on this, but he had to sit out for a couple of weeks, and that kind of tabled and sidelined him a little bit. But things started to come together at the right time. He got to compete at districts, and we laid it on the line for him. We said, this is going to have to be the hardest race you're ever going to have to run. And if you do it, you're going to be successful. You're going to qualify on. And that's exactly what he did. He put his whole guts out and forward through that race. He didn't throw up, thankfully, but he was as tired as I've ever seen him, and that's him running some of the most aggressive races in track, too.
And I know playing with him in soccer as well, I kind of saw that there were a lot of times where, man, he knew he had a chance for sure in cross country, and I could really just see his work ethic and just the fact that, yes, there were even just maybe some practices or games he missed because he had a meet, but you could see the dedication he had because he knew that, hey, this is my last year and I want to do something with it. I think I have just maybe even more potential for cross country than soccer. So I'm going to do my best to try to meet that goal, and I could see that. And he still balanced both of those pretty well when they were at the same time. But that's really cool. And that happened in Columbia, right? Do they do that?
Yeah. So he raced in Southwest Missouri somewhere. I can't remember. It was Bolivar. He raced in Bolivar for districts, and then he qualified on to Gans Creek, our state meet at Gans Creek in Columbia. That was a sloppy day. It was wet and rainy and muddy, and poor Zach, he had every opportunity to go against him to run the strongest race he could at the right time. But he still ran with a lot of heart, and for Zach, he came out ahead. He came out with one of his best finishes of the year. It wasn't quite his PR, but it was still up there for him.
Mm-hmm. And so tell me, there were how many that qualified for state that he was going against in that competition then?
So he was one of 260 athletes.
Oh,
over
wow.
there, and he
And what
finished in
place?
68.
68. Wow. Out of two. That's a really good,
Yeah,
good ratio.
it is. It is. He did a good job. He didn't quite get the goal that he wanted. He wanted to run a race comparable to what he ran at districts, but again, conditions were sloppy.
Well, and especially when you get over 200 athletes that are state bound that come together, it's a big deal. It's a big thing to have to do.
It is a big deal, and to try to maneuver around all of that is tough.
And yeah, and so to go from that, tell me a little bit. Did you run back when you were in high school? Where did you run, if that was the case?
So I graduated from Perryville in 2005, and my cross-country experience was sophomore through senior year. I saw cross-country just as an avenue for getting better and stronger as an athlete for track. I was a track guy, but for me, cross-country was fun. I got to hang out with some really cool people. Personally, Zach is slightly faster than me. I ran a 17:45. Zach has a 17:43.
Wow.
So he's a little faster than me.
2 seconds, yes.
Yeah. So I get to bring in that experience from it. Like Zach and I are kind of cut from the same cloth. He's a 400 guy in track. I was a 400 guy in track. So then I get to converse with him on that line. So he knows that I know what I'm talking about when it comes to the sport because I lived that experience that he's going through now.
Of course. And is that one of those things you went on to college? Or
I did. Yeah, I attended Missouri Baptist for a year on a track scholarship. I didn't really vibe with the coaching culture there, so I ended up leaving Missouri Baptist to go to a different college, and I started coaching up pretty early then.
That's good. And so that kind of leads me into, now you've been coaching for how many years now then maybe? And at just high school in general, and even college?
2007.
Wow, okay. So that's funny. That was the year I was born, so that... so you've been coaching that long, and so tell me, what exactly is that perspective for you? Like, I know that you ran. How has that changed for you?
So for me, when I was trying to learn how to coach these sports, it wasn't enough for me just to say, hey, I did this, so let's do this too. Mm-hmm. I had to learn that athletes develop and change throughout the course of their 4 years. Certain athletes are going to peak at different times throughout their high school careers, so I have to make sure that I can tailor their workout specifically so that athlete peaks at the time that I need them to peak. Mm-hmm. And by that I mean hitting their best opportunity to perform at the right time of the season. So for me, that was the one thing I had to learn, and how to prioritize as a coach, rather than just here's the miles that I slogged through, here's the workouts that I struggled with, here's the ones that made me throw up and made me feel bad, but ultimately I got to the point that I was better.
Of course. And so tell me a little bit now, what is your biggest reward being a coach?
I think the biggest reward is partially getting those kids onto that next level, but then seeing the joy as they come across the finish line, celebrating their big victories, especially in cross country. If you see a kid come across the finish line and they realize they just ran the best race of their careers, it's an elation.
Yeah,
it lifts you up as a person just watching those people, because you saw those struggles throughout the year.
You saw it, yeah. Well, that wraps up this episode. Thank you for watching, everyone. Thanks, Mr. Dude, I'm telling you, bro, I could not believe that. He was like,
We've done it twice now.
30 minutes that a kid's gonna go through.
We might need to redo. I'm sorry. You walked in, I just could not.
I told him I was coming right back.